On top of 3 mountains in one of the windiest places on Earth are 3 housing blocks, home to the men and women who man the radar. Built in the 80s, they are fast decaying and blowing away. So the Corps of the Royal Engineers have stepped in to help. But for many reasons, this deployment is set to be a challenge.
The sappers hard at work behind me are experienced in building bridges and clearing landmines. They're highly trained in combat engineering. But building homes, accommodation blocks, that's more like civvy engineering, and that's a bit different.
This task is not difficult in itself, but as an organisation, we don't train on it regularly. It's not something we're used to. The guys, frankly, have enjoyed just getting their hands on something and building it. They've had to do an awful lot of small courses through the last 3 or 4 months, be it crane, working with elevated platforms, their pure artisan trade, and they just wanted to get somewhere like here and understand what they're going to build in the Falklands. They wanted to get their hands on steel and start making something at last.
So, for the past 4 weeks, this blustery corner of Kent has been home to the sappers. They're practicing a mini version of what they will build for real in the South Atlantic. And whilst it's not quite as windy here, the British weather has been doing its best.
We did lose a couple of tents. The wind managed to get underneath them and put them onto the barbed wire fence, which is behind you now. It's a bit embarrassing. Last week was freezing cold. This week, been a bit nicer, shirts and jacket. And can't really complain too much. Compared to what we're looking forward to in the Falklands, it's a pleasure.
For us, generally, the laws would state wind above about 30 miles an hour, you cannot use a crane. It is just simply not safe. However, in the Falklands, you'll generally find you'll be lucky for 1 day in 5 where the wind is in that regards. Okay, you can, on some occasions on the hilltop sites, not be allowed to go outside. For the simple reason, the wind can be gusting over 100 miles an hour.
The engineers use a handheld device known as a kestrel to measure wind speed. It's the same bit of kit used by snipers, only here it's not calculating the course of a bullet, but the safety of a crane. The days when it's just too windy to work might come in handy for one engineer being deployed. In her spare time, sapper Amy Putland is a ballerina.
I'll just maintain my training and stretching and the basic stuff just to keep my turnout and everything, because you lose it pretty quickly.
Do you ever give lessons to the guys here?
I have done. In lessons that we've had to prep, I've done bits with them. It's quite entertaining.
Is there any talent?
There's a couple that could maybe do something.
With their practice work of art complete here in Kent, the regiment now return home to Catterick. They'll be back down in the new year to clad the building before boarding a plane bound for a more blustery build in the Falklands. Hannah King, Forces News in Kent.